Alright, hi everyone. This is a walkthrough of my 24-foot bunkhouse trailer that's available to rent on a number of different platforms. Basically, this is going to be video 1 of 4, I think. So that way it's not just one big long video of everything you need to know. And if you watch these videos before you come pick up the camper, it could save you some time, as well as maybe lead you to some questions that you want me to ask that I forgot to put in the videos. So without further ado, this is the first video, which will be setup. So basically you get to your site, you backed it up in your spot, and it's time to set up. An important thing is there's a number of things you want to check before you unhook, because there's nothing worse than setting up half the stuff, realizing you have to move the camper over a little bit or something like that, and you got to hook it all back up, take everything down and everything. So as soon as you back it up, you got into your spot, some things to keep in mind. It's going to be a driveway that you pull down typically at most camping sites, right? You want to be aware of where your hookups are, so that way wherever you park, you'll be able to reach it with the plug, the hose, sewage, if sewage is available. And you want to make sure wherever you park it, you have room for your awning to extend all the way out. And then you want as much slab on this side as you can so that you have more room for your stuff and less on the other side. So what I like to do is when I pull in, I'll back up as close to the edge of the concrete on this side as I can get it, you know, depending on where you're going. And you want to make sure you're going to be able to reach everywhere you need to reach before you unhook. Okay, so unhooking is actually one of the last things I do. So I'll back it up where I need it to go. Water hookups are in this front compartment. Electrical hookup stuff is actually on the other side. I'll explain why that is. But when you hook up, you're going to hook up electrical. Is going to be right here. This camper takes a 30 amp plug. Okay, this pulls out, I want to say it's about 15 feet long. When you put it away, there's no wind up wheel or anything, you just kind of shove it in there. Okay, but you pull it out, you're going to plug in. If for some reason wherever you're camping doesn't have a 30 amp hookup, I have an adapter for a 50 amp, I have an adapter for a 110, and I also have an extension cord in case your hookup's far away. So no worries with electrical, I have you covered with just about anything that you would need. All right, and then your water, your city water connection's right here. So this is where you're going to plug in the hose at your campsite. Okay, the hose is in this front compartment right here. It's starting to rain, trying to beat the rain. But you have a red hose, which is to hook up your camper, and then I have this orange hose, which is just a spare hose with a nozzle on it. So typically what I'll do when I get where I'm going is I have this split connector. I'll hook this up first. I'll hook both hoses up to it, because sometimes you just want a hose, you know, to hose off your dog or hose off your feet or hose off a pot or a pan or something like that outside. But your red hose you're going to hook up your camper to. This side you just hook up to your camper. It's got a water pressure regulator on it, and then this fancy thing is just to keep the hose from kinking, you know, when you hook up to the camper. The other end is just a typical hose connection. It's just going to hook up to the spigot that's at your campsite. Okay, so that's it for water. I explained electrical. If you have a sewage dump on your site, which is always nice, I'll go over that with you in the dumping video, because that's a process in itself and they kind of go hand in hand, so I'm not going to waste the time on this video. So you get to your site, you hook up your electrical, you hook up your water. If for some reason you don't have water hookup and you had to use your freshwater tank, it's a 30-gallon tank. This is the freshwater fill up. Obviously, if you're renting the camper, let me know ahead of time if you don't have water hookup, and I'll be sure to fill this up for you. Once you have those hooked up, you can go ahead and unhook the camper from your truck. All right. And then, speaking of which, while we're here, it's a 2 5/16 inch ball. For some reason you don't have that, you can always borrow my hitch. And then I also have a weight distributing anti-sway hitch, should you want that as well. It's a 7-prong electrical connector for your truck. So it's this big one, right? If all you have on your truck is the regular 4-prong, it's not going to work, and you're going to need an adapter. Your propane tanks are up here. So, come on, rain. You have two 20-pound propane tanks. The only thing that run off of propane is your inside stovetop and your hot water heater. And I'll go over how to do all that when we're inside. But essentially, you're going to get 2 full propane tanks when you rent from me. They're both going to be open, but there's a selector switch right here that just flips back and forth between which tank. So if ever you're using the propane for your hot water or the stove, it quits working because you ran out of propane, you just come outside, flip the switch over to the other tank. All right, so you hooked up water, you hooked up electrical, you unhooked from your truck. I have these that come in quite handy for the stabilizer jacks as well as the front jack. So what I'll do is I'll take a bunch of these. I got 2 cases of them. I'll put them under the jack so that way you don't have to crank on that thing for a million years. And then whatever ones you got left over, I'll spread them out evenly under the stabilizing jacks. There's 4 of these on each corner of the camper. These are not leveling jacks, they're just stabilizing jacks. So this camper's small enough that you shouldn't have to level it. Any leveling that you need to do, you can do with this. So if you unhook, you take it off your truck and it looks like the front end's a lot higher or lower than the back, you can just adjust it based on what it looks like with that. These stabilizer jacks, you'll go around to all 4 corners, use this, which is right here in this compartment, put it on here and you just crank it down. Now when you do, you crank it down to where it touches this, and then you snug it up just a little bit, literally just like a quarter of a turn. The whole point of this is you're not taking weight of the camper right here. You're not trying to raise it off the tires or anything like that. You're literally just trying to make a connection between the camper and the ground, so that stabilizes it. So when you walk around in the camper, you know it's not shaking. And then that's pretty much it for setup. Once you do that, you're good to go and start actually setting up your camp. Okay, so we'll go over real quick. This is your only exterior outlet. It's 2 110 volts, right? I will say if you overload them, it trips pretty easy. So if you have a toaster and the electrical cooker and lights and all that hooked up out here, and it trips, I'll show you how to reset it inside, okay? Tire pressure, just in case you ever need to know, they need to be at 65 pounds. Your steps to get in, lift up, pull out, and then that flips down. And then putting them away, it's the same thing. Okay, the door handle, you just lift and twist, and then it clicks into place. And then same thing going the other way. I like to leave it in front of the door while I'm traveling. I don't know why, but it makes me feel good that if the door flew open, the handle would stop it. But so that's the access. All right, handle to open the door. You do have a screen door if you want to use it. Just do that to take it off. Boom, you got a screen door. All right, otherwise it just stays hooked to the door. There's a door lock for when you're inside. This is the door handle to get out for when you're inside. Sometimes the door handle does stick. If ever you pull on it and it stays open, you just jiggle the inside one a little bit and it'll pop out close. Use this handle when you're closing the door. I constantly have to remind my kids when they go inside and close the door behind them, they always try and grab right here to close the door. You don't want to do that because the screen door is pretty flimsy and you will break it. This outside compartment right here is just for everything else that goes outside. So you have the awning lights. I'll actually show you how to set up those. So when you raise the awning all the way out, at the end of the awning there's these tabs that hang down. Inside that box is hooks that go on the tabs, and then you hang the string of lights from the hooks. It's very important that you remember when you're picking the awning up, you take the hooks off of those tabs and put them back in the box, or when you roll the awning back up with those hooks on it, it's going to poke holes in the awning. There's a couple of games. There's an outdoor trash can. There's a dog food bowl, stake with a leash, a couple of balls, a couple more games, a little bit of fire starting equipment. There's a bunch of extension cords for you to hook up everything that you want to hook up outside. And there's a 2-burner electrical stovetop that you can hook up out here as well. It's pretty self-explanatory. And that's it for this. There's a spare tire on the back. Hopefully you won't need that. And yeah, that's it for setup and exterior.